This is the psychological edge that made Max Verstappen a four-time world champion before turning 28. While Charles Leclerc was screaming on his radio and crashing out of leads, and while Lando Norris was losing positions at race starts and admitting he could not beat Max in battles, Verstappen maintained 0 driver error retirements across 4 title-winning seasons. Legendary designer Adrian Newey says Max can drive almost subconsciously, with a mental capacity similar to Schumacher and Senna. But where did this come from? And why did his own father once abandon him at a gas station in Italy? That last detail explains more than you might expect. Something unusual happens when you study Max Verstappen in moments that would break most drivers. The championship is on the line, margins are razor thin, and everyone expects some crack in the armour. That crack never comes. While rivals spin into barriers and fill team radios with anguished screams, Verstappen operates like he is running different software than everyone else. Professor Nico van Iperen from the University of Groningen studied Verstappen's approach and found something that defies conventional sports wisdom. Most elite athletes work with sports psychologists and develop pre-race rituals. Verstappen rejects all of it. Van Iperen found that he does not believe in seeking professional help for his mental health needs and instead looks within himself through the trials and tribulations of the sport. When Tempest magazine asked him directly about handling pressure, his answer was dismissively simple. He does not really think about it too much. He always has the same mindset before a weekend. He just sees what happens and stays quite relaxed about it all. Christian Horner witnessed this during the 2021 championship finale when Verstappen and Hamilton entered Abu Dhabi level on 369.5 points. Everything was on the line. Horner remembers watching Verstappen getting ready, just a 24-year-old, and noticing this amazing ability to detach himself from what was going on around him and just be in the moment. Before the race, Verstappen told the media that even if he finished second, he thought they would still have had a great season and that it would not really change his life. His performance coach Bradley Scanes, who worked with him from 2019 to 2024, described an instant switch in focus that activates when engineering briefings begin, combined with what Scanes called freakish sensitivity to feel tiny changes in car setup. Verstappen himself admits mental strength is incredibly important, but he adds that not everyone handles pressure equally well because it has to be innate. A lot of things can be learned, but some things really have to be ingrained. That word opens the door to a story that still divides opinion. Jos Verstappen is either the father who created a champion or a cautionary tale of pushing too far, depending on who you ask. A former Formula One driver who raced alongside Michael Schumacher at Benetton in the 1990s, Jos remains surprisingly candid about his own career. He told F1 Insider he is honestly not proud of it, that people remember him for the fireball at Hockenheim in 1994 when his car caught fire during refueling, and that he made mistakes. Then came the crucial part. He told Max not to make that mistake. Jos acknowledged he is not the easiest person to work with and demanded a lot from Max. But his son was able to endure it all and has always been mentally very strong. One technique involved making young Max practice on wet karting tracks using dry weather tyres. Slicks on a wet surface force exceptional car control because the margin for error shrinks to nothing. Max credits this for his wet weather performances and says his dad was the guy standing on track telling him where to drive in the rain. The blind test technique was another method. Without revealing what he changed, Jos would secretly modify components on Max's kart, and Max had to feel the difference and identify it correctly. The instruction was clear: if you do not feel anything, do not say anything, and do not lie. Today, Verstappen rarely checks telemetry data, saying he does not need to open his laptop throughout the weekend because he can feel everything. The psychological conditioning went deeper. Jos deliberately withheld praise, and Max remembers his dad never said he was going to be a champion. He said the opposite, that he was going to be a truck driver or a bus driver, and that taught Max that what he was doing was not enough. Max views his father as his biggest critic, and he says everything else is just a breeze because of it. 2012 brought the infamous gas station incident. 15-year-old Max crashed from pole position at a karting championship in Italy. During the 17-hour drive home, Jos left him at a gas station and refused to speak to him for a week. Max says his dad kicked him out and drove off in the south of Italy. Luckily, his mum was behind them on the motorway. Max holds no resentment. All kids grow up differently, he explained, so his father's way would not have worked for everyone. But for him, it was what he needed. Adrian Newey, who worked with Mansell, Prost, Senna and Vettel, observed the results. Newey noted Max did not have an easy childhood, but it is exactly that which made him so mentally strong. What impresses Newey most is how Verstappen can completely shut out the outside world. The 2024 Sao Paulo Grand Prix showed what this psychological armor produces under maximum pressure. Verstappen started 17th because of an engine penalty, and rain affected qualifying. His championship rival Lando Norris was on pole. Then the rain got heavier. He gained 6 positions on the opening lap. By lap 12, Verstappen was 6th, a perfectly timed strategy call to stay out before a red flag changed everything. After the restart, he set 17 fastest laps and then won by 19.477 seconds. 17th to 1st. His post-race radio stayed measured. He admitted the emotions were a roller coaster, but they stayed out of trouble, made the right calls, stayed calm, and were fine. Christian Horner called it a masterclass beyond their wildest dreams. Charles Leclerc, watching from outside the points, said it was more Max that made the difference than the car. His rivals told a different story under similar pressure. Charles Leclerc entered 2022 leading the championship by 46 points after Australia with the fastest car. What followed was an implosion. At Imola in April, running 3rd on lap 54 of 63, Leclerc hit a curb aggressively, spun, and crashed. He admitted he had been too greedy and paid the price. France 2 months later made it worse. Leading from pole, Leclerc lost the rear at turn 11 and crashed, his 3rd retirement from the lead that season. An anguished scream carried across the broadcast. After the race, he said that if they lost the championship by 32 points, he would know where they came from. It was unacceptable. If he stayed at that level, he certainly did not deserve to win. Nico Rosberg's verdict was damning. If you are fighting for a championship against Max Verstappen, you cannot allow yourself to spin out when you are just driving on your own. Lando Norris faced similar struggles in 2024. Ari Luyendyk captured the contrast perfectly, saying listening to them on the radio was like hearing a 12-year-old Lando next to a 30-year-old veteran Max. Verstappen would say he can last another 5 minutes in this weather, while Norris sounded like he thought they were all going to die. Analysis identified 12 errors that cost Norris far more than his deficit of 62 points. Poor starts lost him positions from pole at Hungary, Zandvoort and the China Sprint. At Brazil, Norris started on pole while Verstappen began 17th, yet Norris dropped to 6th while Verstappen won. Norris acknowledged he certainly did not come out on top as often as he would have liked in his fights against Max. Even Lewis Hamilton showed what prolonged pressure does. After winning at Silverstone in 2024 and ending a 945-day winless streak, Hamilton broke down. He could not stop crying. He said that since 2021, he had been getting up every day trying to fight, to train, and to put his mind to the task. There were days he did not feel good enough, or he wondered if he would ever get back. The statistics confirm what the drama suggests. 0 driver error retirements across 53 victories from 2021 to 2024. His 2023 season broke records that had stood for 71 years, with 19 wins from 22 races, a 100% finishing rate, and an 86.4% win rate that shattered Alberto Ascari's 75% from 1952. 900 consecutive days leading the championship since March 2022 surpassed Michael Schumacher's 896 days. Those who worked with Formula One's greatest drivers see something rare in Verstappen. Eddie Jordan, who employed both Senna and Schumacher, believes that if you put all 3 in the same cars at the same race, Max would edge them out. Max is unflustered. Adrian Newey observed that Verstappen gives the impression he can drive almost subconsciously. That ability to drive extremely quickly while maintaining constant reserve is something Max very clearly has. Jenson Button went further, calling Verstappen the most rounded Formula One driver that there has ever been. The difference between Verstappen and his rivals under pressure is not talent. Leclerc and Norris possess extraordinary speed. The difference is internal. Leclerc crashed in France and immediately questioned whether he deserved to be champion. Verstappen faced a 104-point deficit to Norris in 2024, and his response was simple: he had to be calm. Jos Verstappen's brutal training created a driver who experienced the worst psychological pressure before Formula One ever entered the picture. As Max explained, that is why dealing with Helmut Marko, known as an extremely tough guy, never bothered him. Alex Brundle summarised it best. Overcoming a Formula One pressure requires a character like Max. It either breaks you mentally or it turns you into steel. Verstappen became steel, forged in a fire that most would call too hot and too early. That steel now deploys against rivals who never went through the same furnace. Until someone matches not just his speed but his mind, Verstappen will keep collecting championships, while his rivals keep asking why they cracked when it mattered most.